that's much better. Hey, how y'all doing? Good night. Yeah, I've been doing these from the other night. Sometimes on Bolo VNR 2.0, but then sometimes on Bolo VNR clips. That's why you should subscribe to all of my pages. Yes. But good night, guys. How y'all doing? Now, before I go into Paul Buchanan's lawyer and this case that Paul Buchanan has taken the court, not the constituted court authority, the constituted court authority. I believe that's what it is. Constituted authority, the constituted authority. Before I go to this case with the constituted authority versus Paul Buchanan, I just came across something on Partnerjaw TV. My goodness. That I was definitely not aware of. Which I'm going to touch on in the beginning of this. I think it's noteworthy to touch on it before we get into Paul Buchanan's case. Obviously, I'm not going to be here long, but still, very interesting. Very interesting indeed, ladies and gentlemen. All I know is that all lies will be exposed. All lies. There's nowhere to run. There is nowhere to hide. All lies will be exposed. So this is not the time to lie. Whether you're the government, whether you're a church pastor, woman of God, man of God, this is not the time to lie. And I would want to think that at some point, when it's my time, that I will have to tell the difficult truth, that I will do so as well. Jamaica has gone off the rails, ladies and gentlemen, in terms of just the fabric and structure of our society. We are battling with many demons, and I say that with the utmost, how should I put it? I say that with the utmost, I'm not exaggerating. I'm being totally honest with you. Our society simply has passed all the boundaries that we should have, all the guardrails that we had. We blew past them. All the grace that we had, we spat on them. Care about that. All the grace that we had, we buried it. We buried the grace that we had, to be quite honest with you. And it's been rotting for a very long time. Let me just say that. Just for full context, our grace has been buried and rotting for quite some time. Only way we can revive it back is in the involvement of the Most High God in our lives as a society, as a country, as a nation. That's it. That's just the truth. But let's go here, guys. Let's go to JPS. Very interesting times we're living in. Very interesting times we're living in.
There's a state of how the polls are in the road. Ishmael, can you play that story tonight? Hurricane Melissa leaned several poles, uprooted hundreds in some cases, and created obstacles for motorists and pedestrians. This one in particular, along the Mango Hall Main Road in Westmoreland, stuck out like a sore thumb. Our checks with several JPS representatives reveal that their poles should be planted at a depth of 6 feet or more, depending on its length. But while driving around Westmoreland, it appeared that many of the poles were not 6 feet deep.
So today we armed ourselves with Stanley tape measure because we want to check to see how deep these poles were actually planted. Let's check. This is very
So you telling me that we have journalists in Jamaica that is actually doing investigative journalism? That's on mainstream media. They went there with their tape measures. Am I in the same country? Wait, what? No, this is beautiful right here. No, this is beautiful.
6 feet stops. That's it. And the poles are to be no less than 6 feet deep.
What?
This one is a little over 4 feet.
I asked JPS President Hugh Grant about that at a recent press conference in Negril.
The nature in terms of the poles and the depth, there's a standard formula that you go by, whereby the depth, it go by 10% of the height of the pole plus 2. So it varies depending on the height of the pole. Another key component there is the top
10% of the height of the pole times 2. Let me play that back.
At a recent press conference in Negril.
The nature in terms of the poles and the depth, there's a standard formula that you go by, whereby the depth, it go by 10% of the height of the pole plus 2.
How tall does poles, light poles go? 10% of the height of the pole plus 2. Alright, so let's just say the pole is, I don't know, 25 feet tall. 25 foot? 25 feet tall. 10% of 25 would be 4.5. No. 10% would be 2.5. Plus 2. So 4 feet. 4.5 feet. So what is the standard of 6 feet? Where did that come from? And why did the persons that work at JPS give that particular measurement, but none of these poles were close to 6 feet? And now we're hearing this. Very interesting.
So then it varies depending on the height of the pole. Another key component there is the topography of the soil and the actual soil type. If one can
Topography of the soil and the soil type. Let us entertain this, brother. Topography. Meaning, topography is the arrangement of the natural and artificial physical features in the area, the distribution of parts and features of the surface or within an organ or organism. So I guess they're talking about density and whether it's silky soil, soil type, topography. Alright.
there is then it varies depending on the height of the pole. Another key component there is the topography of the soil and the actual soil type. If one can imagine,
Arrangement of the soil and soil type. Okay.
if you're in rocky soil, you are allowed a different depth than if you're into a soil that's of a different nature.
We measured the dirt imprint on at least 10 poles. None of them reached 6 feet. The JPS president responded.
We faced a Category 5 hurricane and the
So after, most of the poles are not at 6 feet. And this is his answer, that they faced a Category 5 storm. Okay.
Responded.
we faced a Category 5 hurricane and the grid with poles at proper depth, everything is designed for a Category 3. So I've seen whereby poles have broken mid-span. I showed you a photo of an entire tower, steel lattice structure that's actually twisted and on the ground. So what we're faced with here is,
Well, I cannot be biased. He has a point. But they were not at 6 feet. So two things can be true. Yes, the storm was like no other. It did bend iron. It did. I know of a situation. Yeah, it really did do that. However, the point is that these structures should have been at 6 feet. And who knows? Like the concrete ones, if they were at the right depth, would they still fall? I don't think so. I don't think if those concrete, especially those ones, I don't believe even a Category 5 storm would have really, troubled those if it was at the right depth. I don't see that happening. So I'm trying to be fair to JPS, but y'all still looking shady right now, bro. Two things can be true. Yes, some of them probably would have still dropped down, but those block ones, the cement, no, bro. If you put that at the right depth, ain't nothing coming down. That you would have to have an earthquake to shake that one out the ground, but not wind. I ain't buying that. That's not being sold over here, sir.
you have a grid designed for Category 3 that face a Category 5 outside of the design criteria. Hence the level of devastation that you see out there.
The Jamaica Public Service says so far its restoration schedule for Westmoreland is on track.
So hold up. Let me get this straight. What was Gilbert? So you telling me that you guys last year, after Andrew Honus was telling us that, all these climate changes and everything, we have to build resilience. So what happened to building resilience, JPS? All these years that Andrew Honus has been talking about climate change, you guys have still not built resilience? I'm not even focused on the board poles. As a matter of fact, I believe if the board light pole them deep enough, them should hold up. That's just me. If a tree drop down, we know so that different. But just in terms of wind, I don't expect them, all of them. Some of them will have some type of effect and probably broken or two. That is possible. But bro, not the cement ones, bro. If at the right depth, no, bro. If you put those at the right depth, bro, you straight. You are straight. Facts. That's crazy. I'm not buying that.
Now you understand, Jamaica, why so many of the poles were down.
That's crazy.
Because they weren't planted properly. The man lie like the Prime Minister. He have excuse like Daryl Rock.
Yo, that is a terrible, terrible compliment.
Lie like Desmond McKenna.
Damn.
Oh, black body.
blackboard. And now you understand why so many poles were down, because they weren't planted properly in the ground. The man had an excuse for everything.
Yeah, him sharp.
Mr. You. But
sharp.
I'm not surprised. Because you see, in this country, Jamaica, they have more excuses than solutions.
True. That's a fact.
In this country, it's like the recipe for governance is explanation.
You have to be
All they do is
sharp
explain,
on their feet.
even
yeah.
if the explanation
Don't
doesn't
make no sense. Exactly. Them skill for true, man.
The man said if it was a category, seeing that it's a category 5, they would have even inevitably go down. Potentially, if they were planted well, less would go down.
Exactly, that's what I'm
But
saying.
majority of them, or all of them,
Most
you
of them.
Kirk Wright said, of all he measured, the 10 he measured, not one. So the probability of 20 being 6 feet, not one. The probability of 30 being 6 feet, not one.
That bad. That's bad.
So on record it must be 6 feet, but in reality it was probably 3 feet or 2
4 feet, 3 feet, 2 feet, 4 feet.
What a bangarang.
Mighty
A
God.
sure bangarang. And then here comes JPS now have to do what? Spend exorbitant money to fix poles, to re-erect poles. And again, Courtney, the poles will not be erected 6 feet down. I am sure if you go and look at those poles that have now been erected, none of them again 6 feet down. None of them. And that is what has taken over this beautiful country. The inconsistencies of governance. The inconsistencies of procedures. The inconsistencies. Or inconsistencies. I don't know if Jamaica not tired.
Me tired for sure. I'm tired of all these consistencies. No, ladies and gentlemen, just wanted to touch on that where JPA situation is concerned. But to the meat of the matter, like I said, I won't be long. We have today Paul Buchanan, Mr. Wildman, and you know I did a video on how the case went, right? So for those who are not aware, the judge basically said certain things was not, how would I put it, and I'm paraphrasing, that Mr. You know what, just let me play the tape because they pretty much explain. Let me just play the tape. Let's go back. It's worth listening to.
Able assistant there. I assistant. Listen,
So this
Wildman.
is
Yes. I'm
so
doing.
this is Mr. Wildman, Wildman, the lawyer for representing Paul Buchanan against the constituted authority. And Paul Buchanan had him on live tonight, and so I'm going over what was said. A lot of exciting things I learned, ladies and gentlemen. The law is, did you guys hear that there's a 7.5 earthquake that hit Japan? Pray for Japan. I think Jamaicans are everywhere. Pray for Japan. Alright?
Doing well. Thanks for asking. And you?
7.5.
Yeah, doing excellent.
Good. Outstanding. Outstanding. Mr. Wildman.
Yes, sir.
Sir. And I think I just mentioned to my lovely audience that if there's one person who can do justice to this topic, it's you. And what I did, just to give you, to get you up to speed, what I did, I went back and I showed them a chart and explained the system of governance we have in Jamaica. You know, the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. And explained to them that the judiciary is responsible for, the operation of the courts. And legally, there's nothing wrong with having two people living under the same roof that control two branches of government. But morally, we believe that there's something wrong with that. And that happens to be the case of the Prime Minister and his wife. But that's an aside. Then we got into the Election Petitions Act. And then we just finished up with the Representation of the People Act, where I was trying to explain to my audience that the Petitions Act deals with election petitions filed with the Supreme Court. Has nothing to do with the constituted authority, has nothing to do with the election court. Then we went to section, I think it was section 37 of it, where they started talking about how you can bring certain actions, your basically five grounds. Then we moved on to the Representation of the People Act, and we started talking about that. So what I'd like you to do, sir, is please take a platform and explain to us the difference between the Election Petitions Act and the Representation of the People Act regarding the complaint about how an election was conducted.
Well, the Election Petition Act is the method that's the legislation that tells you how you approach the court to challenge the outcome of an election. Whereas the Representation of the People's Act tells you what are the requirements of free and fair election. So you have to observe those requirements in order for the election to be considered to be free and fair. So the two acts work in harmony. So you have the constituted authority was set up by virtue of an amendment to the Representation of the People's Act, which provides another method by which you can challenge the outcome of an election. Previously, it was by way of an election petition and the Election Petition Act.
Correct.
So the legislature had another layer, so to speak, which is quicker, faster for you to challenge the outcome of an election where you think that the election was conducted in an unfair manner. So that's the relationship between both legislation.
So one legislation was first, then another one was an amendment. The other one was another one to coincide with that, to upgrade it. And then there was a body put together, the constituted authority, that make it faster for you to appeal a election result. All right, got it.
Right. I was just showing the 1998 election court's decision in the matter concerning Mr. Holness. And I just want to put up this one section here and see where it says right here, folks. It says right here, because they were complaining about irregularities. That's number 5 of the 5 things that I talked to you about. Irregularities concerning how the election was conducted that made it made it not to be fair and free. Now look at what it says here. It says the motion to void an election clearly is not an election petition.
Exactly.
It says the
motion to void an election is clearly not an election.
Clearly is not an election. It says here, it says the motion to void an election clearly is.
I find the submission untenable. The motion to void an election clearly is not an election petition. So the judge was ruling on an election petition, and that's not what Mr. Buchanan filed. Yo, this is very interesting.
Is not an election petition.
Exactly.
The voiding of an election is a new and
that's correct. And that's the point I've been making all along.
It's right there.
It's there.
Only the constituted authority that can move the court to void the taking of.
That's correct. That's correct.
So, Mr. Wildman, tell us what are your grosses? What are your concerns about the decision? Because people have been saying to me, oh, you know, the complaint wasn't filed in a timely fashion. It was late. The judge said it was late. And I'm trying to please address that, sir.
It's absolute nonsense. Before I got into the case, Mr. Buchanan and his team compiled the evidence after the election and placed it before the constituted authority within the time, because they have 14 days after the polls to do so. They did so in 9 days.
You hear that?
So there's no question about complying with the timeline. They did so.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Constitutional Authority have 2 weeks now to make their determination as to whether to send it to the election court or not. So there's no question about the timeline. That is a red herring argument. That does not arise. He acted within the time. That must be absolutely. In fact, if he had acted outside of the time, they would not have entertained his application.
Indeed.
So that is the first point. If he were outside of the 14 days, they would not even consider it. So the fact that it was brought before them, he was within time. That's clear. 9 days when he has 14 days max to put it before them. Because you remember, after the election, he has to go and get his witnesses to compile the affidavits and make sure that everything is in order to send it to them. So the election can't be today and it send it to them tomorrow. It has to be together properly, and then he sends it to the constituted authority. And they now have to make a deliberation on it to see whether there are circumstances to warrant it going to the election court. And this is where they fell down miserably. Having supplied all that mountain of evidence within the time, their job was to now satisfy themselves that the evidence is there and then immediately send it to the election court. They are not a court to determine whether or not they believe this or they don't believe this.
Yo, I told you that's exactly what Mr. Will Rattigan said. The constituted authority is not a court to decide whether or not the evidence is strong or not. All they are supposed to do is look to see if we get the evidence. Pen paper. Sworn affidavit, that's it. And the sworn affidavit has to match 5 things that makes it eligible. And all of those affidavits were eligible, but they only need 1 to be eligible. So it should have been sent to the election court. True.
Their job is to say, all right, he has put before us evidence. We are now, our job is to act as like a conduit now, send it to the election court. They are the ones who will test the veracity of the evidence. The witnesses can be called, cross-examined, and the court will now make a determination as to whether we should.
So basically, the constituted authority is the middleman to send in cases to the election court. And then at the election court, the evidence, the affidavits, the testimonies, that's where those things would be scrutinized. But what the constituted court did was scrutinize the evidence and say, you don't have enough. This is not enough but that's not their mandate. They don't have that authority. Ladies and gentlemen, this is serious, This case is serious.
Avoid the election. And they failed to do that. So having failed to do that, this is where we come in now. When it was brought to my attention, I see where they made an error. So we immediately, that's when I came into the case now, I immediately see that the procedure now is to go by way of judicial review and to ask the judicial review court to say, hey, constituted authority, you should have sent the man's thing to the election court because he has put before you sufficient circumstances for you to go to send it to the election court. And you see, what you must understand here is that, let me give you a simple example as I did on the radio this evening. Suppose he had sent it to them and they say, that fellow Buchanan, I don't like that fellow Buchanan. He's a miserable fellow. He's a troublemaker. So he lost, I don't know, sending the thing to the election court. Suppose they had said that. Based on what the judge did today, the judge said that you can't do anything.
Right.
The judge said,
say that again?
Just sending the thing to the election court. Suppose they had said that. Based on what the judge did today, the judge said that you can't do anything.
Right.
No, I'm not talk too fast. I'm not hear that all ago. I'm not hear what you say all ago? What the judge basically want? What you say?
The judge said that you should have gone to the election petition. You see the absurdity in this thing, Bridget. What the judge did today, the judge said that you can't do anything.
Right.
The judge said that you should have gone to the election petition. You see the absurdity in this thing, Bridget. This thing doesn't make sense. This thing defies all principles of law. The fact of the matter is that long ago, in the case known as Amnesty and Foreign Compensation Commission, the House of Lords made the point that all errors of law go to jurisdiction. So when the constituted authority failed to send the man's thing to the election court, that is an error of law. Because an error of law can arise when you fail to act on evidence.
Mass control, so with all going around, come around, Andrew run, but he can't have time coming. I have said time and time again, justice is denied in Jamaica so many times. It's just delayed. It's not denied.
Evidence, or you take into consideration irrelevant things. It can arise in different ways. So in this case, they fail to consider relevant evidence. And what is the relevant evidence? Mountain. You have evidence of people invading polling stations, people double voting, open voting. You have people take command there in polling station, taking over the station. People couldn't come on within the 100 meters. Exactly. People can't come and vote.
Exactly.
Party songs and party paraphernalia being on display and to intimidate, influence. All of these things are recognized breaches under the Representation of the People Act, which was pronounced by the court in Blake and Hollis as a basis to void election. So you have judicial pronouncement on these things already. So say these things will suffice to void an election. So if you have a court saying that these things will suffice to void an election, how can an inferior body like the Constitutional Authority refuse to act on that?
Exactly.
You see the contradiction there?
The constituted authority doesn't have the authority of the court, and the court already ruled in other cases before that those same things that Paul Buchanan brought up was legit like crimes, bro. So how can the constituted authority tell Paul Buchanan it's not enough? Yo, this is huge, you know. People need to be fired, you know, and exposed, you know. Yo, man, listen, what?
The constituted authority is known in law as an inferior body. They are not a court.
Yeah.
They are a creature of statute.
Okay.
So they can act as if they were a court.
That's why you filed for cert.
Danny?
That's why you filed for certiorari.
That is correct, to quash their decision. The decision of an inferior tribunal. Exactly.
Let
That's
me
the
ask-
point.
let me ask you. I'm reading the statute, and I'm looking at how it was applied back in 1998.
Yes.
You talk about circumstances.
Yes.
It didn't talk about evidence. And
Yes.
what I find troubling is that the constituted authority started looking at the circumstances and trying to deal with evidence out of it to say, we're going to look at the weight.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I said. That is near remit. That is not their remit. That is remit of the election court. You see, their job, once a man put forward evidence, then their job is to say they have no discretion. Their job is to send it to the election court. And all the cases that have been cited, which have been accepted, even the case of Malaysia, the court makes that point, that it is the election court and election court only who has the discretion to determine whether the conduct complained of amount to conduct to void an election. So they can't usurp that function of the election court, which they have done. And so it was the duty of the judge in this case, as the supervisor of the court, to say to the constituted authority, hey, you overstep your bounds here. You should not have done that.
Simple.
Right.
And she failed to do that.
Now, the judge made a big deal about an election petition.
Yes.
When I back and I look, I saw that Mr. Buchanan did not file an election petition.
That's correct. And there was no need for it once you go to the election, the constituted authority. You don't need. And that point was taken in the Blake and Hollis case. You just read it. Make the distinction between an election petition and going under the constituted authority are two different regimes.
Right.
So why are you talking about election petition when the man comes under that regime, which the statute provides for? That is just to confuse.
Yo, the judge messed up. I don't know if it's just genuinely that she messed or he messed up. It's Wint Blair? I don't know if the judge genuinely messed up, but he's right. I'm looking back at the actual I'm looking back at this and the article itself with the decision from the judge. I am looking back at it. He's right. This is actually why Blair, because he said Buchanan did not provide details on the inaction during the period since the election date. This period of inaction between September 3rd to 15 remains unexplained by Mr. Buchanan. The election took place September 3rd within 14 days statute window for the constitutional authority to apply for election court opening next. Buchanan did not submit his request to the authority until September 16, virtually on the eve of the deadline. Following the authorities' refusal on September 30th, Buchanan submitted his application to the Supreme Court October 8th. The unexplained delay in taking any steps to prosecute the electoral matter did not make judicial review an effective remedy when viewed within the legislative scheme. Justice Blair said in its October 1st decision. Constitutional authority said Buchanan relied on Section 37 of the Election Petition Act. This was not an election petition. Wagwan Adi. This was not an election petition. You understand? This was not an election petition. We gotta make sure we keep that in mind, bro. Because this is some law stuff, and I'm not no genius. I ain't no lawyer, but I'm trying to, stay on point. You know what I'm saying?
No. She talks about the timelines, and she's saying time is of the essence with an election. And the judge even said there was no violation per se of the timeline in certain aspects, the way when things were filed.
Yeah.
But it filed quickly enough. And I found that to be a start.
It is absurd. It is absurd. If the parliament says you have 14 days to file something, and you file it in 9 days, can anybody say that you are guilty of delay? No, tell me. A little child going to basic school would know better than that. You have 14 days to file something, and you file it in 9 days. Can anybody say that you are guilty of delay?
No.
So that is what is it? I don't understand this thing. So, and let me explain something to you. By asking those questions, the judgment is inherently wrong. It is incurably bad. You can't be going on issues that are not issues in the case. The man did not file an election petition, so why are you talking about this?
So basically, the judge ruled on a different case. She didn't rule on the specifications of the actual case that was brought in front of her. This is bad. This is embarrassing. Real talk.
Election petition.
Or him. Whatever.
The man filed an application to void election under the constituted authority, which is Section 44, set up under Section 44 and 52 of the Election Petition Act. So why are you talking about the election petition?
Let me just put this up again so people can see, because I found this, if I found it, certainly the judge could have.
Oh yeah, it is definitely a female. Sonia,
yes.
Read it. Here it is right here. It says people, and this is in the Andrew Holness.
Yes.
Yes. The motion to, and it's the same type of thing that they brought.
That's correct.
They brought. I said the motion to void an election clearly is not an election.
An election petition. That's correct.
It's right there, folks.
That is simple. That is simple. It's not.
It's right there. And
so okay, we're talking about the election petition.
And the court went on to say the voiding of an election is a new.
That is correct.
A different regime.
It's a new regime. It's a new regime set up.
Yes.
What are you talking about election petition?
I have no idea. When I saw that, I said, well, wait a minute.
Oh,
He didn't file an election.
And to make it worse, if you look at the judgment, the judge made the error again by saying that the Blake and Holness case was an election petition case. But not so.
It's right here. It's right here.
The Blake and Holness case was not an election petition case. It was a constituted authority referral case.
The judge said it right
so
here.
the fact that she can't even get that right, what do you make of that judgment?
It's terrible. No, assume that she's right, and she's just for the sake of this conversation. She's right with the time bar. That is.
But she can't be right. We can't assume something that is bad. There's no way to assume that they can't be right. It's wrong.
No, there's a question I want to ask you, but if we say that it was wrong, then we won't get to that question. I just want
Yes.
to pick your brain a bit. Talk to us. Now she said, okay, there is a statute of limitations problem. You're time barred, and therefore you can't do anything. Talk to me about nullification and how that
All right, let me
works.
explain that. The constituted authority is set up after an election is announced, okay? And its life run for 6 months after the election, okay? The life of the constituted authority is for 6 months. And what I think, as you see, you have to understand the basic administrative law here.
Mighty God.
The fact that their life is for 6 months does not in any way make a determination of its decision being void statute barred. And the reason for that, once something is pronounced to be a nullity, time does not run against that decision.
Thank you, sir.
That's basic administrative law. What nullity means is that it never had any life in the first instance. What you call in administrative law, it is void ab initio, meaning that it never started, never got out the block. So when the constituted authority made a decision by not referring the man's thing to the election court, that would have been a void decision, void ab initio. Therefore, time would not have run again. And all the time start to run when the Supreme Court, by way of judicial review, say your decision is wrong, so you must not refer the thing to the election court. That time start to run.
So the nullification would get rid of the time.
That is correct. That is correct.
Look.
Yo, this is bad, you know. So, what the judge was arguing about the time running out for him to apply is null and void because the process did not occur to validate that to happen. Yo, this is. Oh my God. Yo, Sonia White-Blair messed up, guys. Sonia White-Blair absolutely messed up the Paul Buchanan case versus the constituted authority regarding the election between Andrew Owens and Paul Buchanan. That seat specifically. The judge, TikTok, listen to me. The judge messed up. Oh my God. I don't listen. I was not accusing that judge of anything. What's up, staff? I was not accusing that judge of anything. I see a lot of people feeling certain way about the situation. Feeling me, I say, because Paul Buchanan lost, but I wasn't emotional about it because I expected that to happen because I thought the system is just corrupt. You understand? So I was not emotional about it. I was expecting the system to be corrupt, given who we're dealing with in terms of Andrew Owens and his government. So I expected the system to be corrupt, but I wasn't blaming the judge directly to say, yo, you know, say the judge gets some money and one bag of thing. No, I was not praying that. I was waiting on this moment tonight, waiting on Mr. Will Rattigan to come on and explain the legalities of this particular situation so I can better understand what is going on. So for my people that are coming on TikTok, for those who are interested in the topic regarding Paul Buchanan and Andrew Owens and that case with the constituted court, what I understand is this. The judge ruled on something that basically Paul Buchanan's lawyer and him did not go to court for. They didn't go to court for section 37 of the election and the electoral act. They didn't go to court for that. You understand? They went to court for something else. So she ruled, the judge, Sonia White-Blair, ruled on something that was not brought in front of her by Paul Buchanan and his lawyer. She ruled on something else. The other thing is her argument in the whole thing about Paul Buchanan not putting out his application in time was false as well. It was done. It was supposed to be 14 days. He put it in 9 days into the constituted authority. So the judge is just looking at probably what the other side put there. Listen. I'm not trying to defend the judge or anything. I'm just not going to say that the judge is, anything. I'm not going to accuse the judge of anything. But I will say that she made an error based off the law. Based off what they're saying, the lawyers, Will Rattigan, because Will Rattigan is interviewing Hugh Wildman, which is Paul Buchanan's lawyer. And a lawyer is not going to go in front of the TV and lie about the law against a judge. He's not going to do that. So, based off that merit, poor Sonia Winton Blair appears to me that a very devastating error in this regard. But and then the constituted authorities confirmed that they did not have the merit or the mandate or the authority to rule that Paul Buchanan's affidavits and his case was not enough. They don't have that power. Chrissy, how are you there? Right, Chrissy said what happened to your case today. Chrissy, the judge said Paul Buchanan mess up and the lawyer mess up and they never filed on time. Let me read the first part I feel. Let me read the first part I article feel with the case. The Supreme Court has dismissed Paul Buchanan's latest attempt to overturn the election results for the St. Andrew West Central constituency, which was won by Prime Minister Andrew Willis in September general election. Buchanan of the opposition People's National Party filed an application for permission to seek judicial review of the decision of the constituted authority not to apply to election court to void the results on September 3rd poll. You hear that? Buchanan of the opposition People's National Party filed an application for permission to seek judicial review of the decision of the constituted authority not to apply to the election court, right, to avoid the results of September 3rd. Justice Sonia Winton Blair, in delivering the decision on Monday, ruled that the application was not arguable and was subject to knockout blow in law. The court found that the mandatory statutory time period for challenging the election result had expired and that the October 8 judicial review application was futile. The judge said even if the court granted the order compelling the constituted authority to refer the matter, outcome would be void because of the law. Yeah, this thing are too loud enough. The outcome would be void because of the law. Prevents the court from extending the time set by the parliament for such electoral challenge. So there's the problem. The judge is ruling on an electoral challenge. Paul Buchanan did not go for an electoral challenge. Vion Miller, what's up? How you doing? Good night. Can this case be brought back to court knowing that? Yes, that's what the lawyer is saying. They're going back to court. They're going back to court. Chrissy said, we can't believe this Jamaica gone to the dogs. Why, Chrissy, I don't know if it is. Marcus Garvey said, Andrew can bribe any judge in Jamaica. In fact, the 300% salary raise was a bribe. Lord God. That's how everybody assists him. Mikey Lawson, I been in Wagwan General. So this case with Paul Buchanan, I go play back some phone on TikTok because that's a conversation I write. So listen to this.
The judgment is inherently wrong.
Made a big deal about an election petition.
Yes.
When I back and I look, I saw that Mr. Buchanan did not file an election petition.
That's correct.
So the judge was ruling on an election petition. All right? And Paul Buchanan did not file an election petition. You see how bad that is? The judge ruled on an election petition, but Paul Buchanan did not file for an election petition in front of the court. That is a big error by the judge. I almost feel sorry for the judge. Like, oh, you make a mistake like that. Is a young judge or something? I don't know. Oh, you make a mistake like that. Listen to what the man just said.
Made a big deal about an election petition.
Yes.
When I back and I look, I saw that Mr. Buchanan did not file an election petition.
That's correct. And there was no need for it once you go to the election, the constitutional authority. You don't need, and that point was taken in the Blake and Wallace case. You just read it. Make the distinction between an election petition and going under the constitutional authority are two different regimes.
So an election petition and going under the constituted authority is different. Chrissy, me not even know. Chrissy, me not know if it tell us about the judge being biased. I cannot speak on the intent of the judge. Me, I wonder if the judge know what she had do. I decide there right now because this is embarrassing. What the man them is saying right here about the law and what the judge do is embarrassing. Embarrassing professionally, like, yo, that's...
Can I look? I saw that Mr. Buchanan did not file an election petition.
That's correct. And there was no need for it once you go to the election, the constitutional authority. You don't need, and that point was taken in the Blake and Wallace case. You just read it. Make the distinction between an election petition and going under the constitutional authority are two different regimes.
Right.
So why are you talking about election petition when the man comes under that regime, which the statute provides for? That is just to confuse.
No. She talks about the timelines, and she's saying time is of the essence with an election. And the judge even said there was no violation per se of the timeline in certain aspects, the way when things were filed.
Yes. Yes.
But it's filed quickly enough. And I found that to be a start.
It's absurd. It's absurd. If the parliament says you have 14 days to file something and you file it in 9 days, can anybody say that you are guilty of delay?
So what the lawyer is saying is that pretty much Paul Buchanan filed his case to the constituted authority in 9 days, and it was 14 days was the deadline. But the judge argument in the article is that he never filed it quick enough. He filed it almost on the last day. So walk on with the judge, bro. Walk on with the judge, bro. You know, bro. Like, we live in a country where this can't even happen. Was the judge ignorant, or did somebody get to the judge? Because it's just hard. How can you be a judge and not know this? Look at something. Somebody said Andrew will be at work. Yes, Chrissy. 14 days after the election, if you have an issue, you have that time span to file, get your affidavits together to go to the constitutional court, the constituted authority, sorry, and say to them, say, see the paperwork here, you just need one that fit 5 things that can put you to send it to the election court. Once the affidavit matches any one of those 5 things that them described, one of them is lack of access to the polling station without intimidation. So 100 feet from the polling station, nobody should be standing there. Nobody should be in no paraphernalia, no music for none of the political party them not supposed to play, no intimidation, no trying to sway the people them where to vote. If you look on election day, in that area. There's a lot of videos of that happening. And there's sworn affidavits to confirm that. And video evidence. So that one, this is what I understand from what you're saying, you know, that one affidavit is all the constituted court needs to say, yeah man, go through man, election court. But what the constituted court did was actually rule on the affidavits to say that, yo, you're not have enough, this are not enough. And they were trying to play like they were the court to judge it. But they are not a court. They don't have the authority to do that. So that's why now Paul Buchanan go to the higher court, which is the actual court, right? Basically, the constituted court is a subordinate of real courts. You see what I say? Them not have them the type of authority there. Them is a half branch of a half branch. That's what I understand from what I'm listening from the two lawyers them. So when the man go jump up and say, no, your case not ready, bro. Which in that one of them not supposed to do that. All them supposed to do. Well, you man, you have a paperwork, man. You file it for you. I done it done. And you got election court, and then the election court are gonna look on the evidence and say, yo, what the witness there? Yeah man, interview, peer things. They might go over the evidence. And that is when them say, all right, well, you have a case, or you them rule upon it or whatever. But the constituted court literally voided the case, which they don't have the authority to do. So this situation with Paul Buchanan is not over, ladies and gentlemen, not by a stretch of the imagination.
No, tell me, a little child going to basic school would know better than that. You have 14 days to file something, and you file it in 9 days. Can anybody say that you are guilty of delay?
No. No.
So that is what is it? I don't understand this thing. So let me explain something to you.
Chrissy asks if the case is still valid. They're gonna carry it further, yes, they're gonna appeal it. But no, they're gonna appeal it, and then a judge that understands the law is gonna be like, yeah, the judge kinda mess up, so I'm gonna go on through authority, constituted authority, sent to election court. How long that's going to take, I don't know. But it's still on. And even Will Rattigan is gonna start up a GoFundMe. So we the people, right? If we want to be a part of the change that we're looking for, this one case is very important. I'll be donating as soon as Will Rattigan puts up the information to, say, all right, yo, this is what we're donating to, and this is the cause for this case. I'll be donating. We have to put our money where our mouth is. You see what I'm saying? No joke.
True. By asking those questions, the judgment is inherently wrong. It is incurably bad. You can't be going on issues that are not.
Zion Love, do you follow Will Rattigan on YouTube? Do you follow Will Rattigan on YouTube? Mascan Joseph, meanwhile, Andrew gonna hide. Wonderful. So you know what you need to do. Perfect. Cool.
Issues in the case. Yes. The man did not file an election petition. So why are you talking about the election petition?
You hear that?
The man filed an application to void election under the constituted authority, which is section 44, set up under section 41 and 52 of the Election Petition Act.
Let us play that again. Dang.
Going on issues that are not issues in the case. Yes. The man did not file an election petition. So why are you talking about the election petition? The man filed an application to void election under the constituted authority, which is section 44, set up under section 41 and 52 of the Election Petition Act.
Mhm.
So why are you talking about the election petition?
Let me just put this up again so people made a big deal about
And there was no need for it once you go to the election.
back on a deal about. Now,
I gotta record this. I'm sorry. I gotta do a little TikTok on this one. I gotta put this one out, man. I gotta put this.
I give away my continent?
I gotta put this one out. Hey, ladies and whoa. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, you know I'm live right now on TikTok, and the case with Paul Buchanan, yes, versus the Constituted Court. We have Will Rattigan and Mr. U. Wildman speaking on the case about the judge's decision. Let's listen to this.
the judge made a big deal about an election petition.
Yes.
And when I back and I look, I saw that Mr. Buchanan did not file an election petition.
That's correct. And there was no need for it once you go to the election. The Constitutional Authority, you don't need. And that point was taken in the Blake and Walensky, you just read it. Make the distinction between an election petition and going under the Constitutional Authority are two different regimes.
Right.
So why are you talking about election petition when the man comes under that regime, which the statute provides for? That is just to confuse.
No. She talks about the timelines, and she's saying time is of the essence with an election. And the judge even said there was no violation per se of the timeline in certain aspects, the way when things were filed.
Yes. Yes.
But it's filed quickly enough. And I found that to be a start.
The thing is absurd. The thing is absurd. If the parliament says you have 14 days to file something and you file it in 9 days, can anybody say that you are guilty of delay? No, tell me. A little child going to basic school would know better than that. You have 14 days to file something and you file it in 9 days. Can anybody say that you are guilty of delay?
No.
So that is what is it? I don't understand this thing. So, and let me explain something to you. By asking those questions, the judgment is inherently wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It is incurably bad. You can't be going on issues that are not issues in the case. The man did not file an election petition, so why are you talking about election petition? The man filed an application to void election under the Constitutional Authority, which is Section 44, set up under Section 44 and 52 of the Election Petition Act.
Mm-hmm.
So why are you talking about the election petition?
Let me just put this up again so people.
Embarrassing. She needs some milk. No, Judge Sonia. Listen, Mrs. Whitblair, I really liked you, but man, you getting all this smoke. Yo, the man is roasting you legally. How did you make that mistake? Was it that mistake? Listen. I don't know what the intent was, but you gotta fix this, man. You have to repent. You know how much people upset right now? Lord have mercy. Woo. No, sir. What is something over? What is something? Huh? Wait a minute. What the hell? Yo, what does that mother go? I'm confused. I was videoing the whole I gotta play that back. Can't believe I gotta play that back.
It's for. Are you talking about the duty of the judge in this case? Step your bows here.
Election petition.
Yeah.
Judge made.
Yo, I was recording that the whole time, bro. This is further for the next level of the case. What do you mean by that, decade? Zion a love over me. Somebody said the judge drunk. Somebody said the judge never go to school. Y'all is not right. Yo, you guys are not right, bro. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am live on TikTok right now, and I'm listening to Will Rattigan and Mr. U. Wildman speak about this case between Paul Buchanan and the Constituted Authority. Let's chime in. Very interesting stuff. Mrs. Sonia Wint Blair. This is not looking good, man.
Right.
And she failed to do that.
Now, the judge made a big deal about an election petition.
Yes.
When I back and I look, I saw that Mr. Buchanan did not file an election petition.
That's correct. And there was no need for it. Once you go to the election, the Constituted Authority, they don't need. And that point was taken in the Blake and Wallace case, requires you just read it. Make the distinction between an election petition and going under the Constituted Authority are two different regimes.
Right.
So why are you talking about election petition when the man comes under that regime, which the statute provides for? That is just to confuse.
No. She talks about the timelines, and she's saying time is of the essence with an election. And the judge even said there was no violation per se of the timeline in certain aspects, the way when things were filed.
Yes. Yes.
But it's filed quickly enough. And I found that to be a start.
It's absurd. It's absurd. If the parliament says you have 14 days to file something, and you file it in 9 days, can anybody say that you are guilty of delay? No, tell me. A little child going to basic school would know better than that. You have 14 days to file something, and you file it in 9 days. Can anybody say that you are guilty of delay?
No. No.
So that is what is it? I don't understand this thing. So, and let me explain something to you. By asking those questions, the judgment is inherently wrong. It is incurably bad. You can't be going on issues that are not issues in the case.
Yes.
The man did not file an election petition, so why are you talking about election petition? The man filed an application to void election under the Constituted Authority, which is Section 44, set up under Section 41 and 52 of the Election Petition Act. So why are you talking about election petition?
Mrs. Sonia Wint Blair. Why? Why? Is the question. Why indeed? I really like you, man. I ain't even gonna cap. You know what you did for Mr. George Williams in that judgment of 120 million? I was like, yes. I put your name down. I'm rocking with you. But this, you gotta repent, man. You gotta repent. All right. No, it did it again. What is going on with my phone, bro? I'm gonna move on, man. What is the timestamp on this? Yeah, I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna do that when I'm done. Cause I don't know why this thing is not. It's like because I am on live, it's not allowing me to do a video. Is that what it is? Cause I'm on live with y'all, I can't do a video. Somebody said time will get everywhere. Time will get everywhere. Fear from a corrupt judge of the EOJ, rat, police, politicians. Man, listen. Somebody did tell the judge what to say. Y'all, it's crazy. Oh, it looks like I can't send no videos because I'm live. I can't make no videos because I'm live. Let me see. That's some cool stuff. Really? No, that's not true. See, how did it do it then? But then when I go to 10 minutes, it's bugging out. Yo, let's try this again, man. No, I'm not gonna do it. I ain't gonna waste y'all time. Let's continue. I'm just gonna write down the timestamp. Oh Lord, 128, 128, something like that.
Started looking at the circumstances and trying. Troubling is that out of it.
It'll continue the authority. Hey, you overstep your bounds here.
Petition.
Yes.
When I made.
All right, so it's 126. 126 on 15 seconds. Cool. Yo, being a content creator is not normal, you know. Especially when you know what I'm saying? You gotta have these timestamps, you gotta screen record, Gotta have a lot of space on your computer. Gotta have a lot of space in your phone. You gotta have high performance stuff, man. It's tough. I don't know. All right, let's continue.
No.
So that is what is it? I don't understand this thing. So and let me explain something to you. By asking those questions, the judgment is inherently wrong. It is incurably bad. You can't be going on issues that are not issues in the case. The man did not file an election petition, so why are you talking about the election petition? The man filed an application to void election under the constituted authority, which is section 44, set up under section 44 and 52 of the Election Petition Act. So why are you talking about the election petition?
Let me just put this up again so people can see, because I found this, if I found it, certainly the judge could have found it herself and she could have read it. Here it is right here. It says people, and this is in the Andrew Holness. Andrew Holness. The motion to, and it's the same type of thing that they brought.
That's correct.
They brought, I said, the motion to void an election clearly is not an election.
An election petition. That's correct.
It's right there, folks.
That is simple. That is simple. It's not.
It's right there. And
so okay, we're talking about the election petition.
And the court went on to say the voiding of an election is a new.
That is correct.
Different regime.
It's a new regime. It's a new regime.
The man wanted to void the election, which is the point. It was not an election petition. Mighty God. How did the judge make a mistake like this, yo?
Team set up.
Yes.
What you talk about election petition?
I have no idea. When I saw that, I said, well, wait a minute. He didn't file an election petition.
And to make it worse, if you look at the judgment, the judge made the error again by saying that the Blake and Holness case was an election petition case. But not so.
It's right here.
The Blake and Holness case was not an election petition case. It was a constituted authority referral case.
The judge said it right.
So the fact that she can't even get that right, what do you make of that judgment?
It's terrible. No, assume that she's right, and she's just for the sake of this conversation, and she's right with the time bar. That is.
But she can't be right. We can't assume something that is bad. There's no way to assume that they can't be right. It's wrong.
No, there's a question I want to ask you, but if we say that it was wrong, then we won't get to that question. I just want to pick your brain a bit. Talk to us. Now she said, okay, there is a statute of limitations problem. You're time barred, and therefore you can't do anything. Talk to me about nullification and how that.
All right, let me explain that. The constituted authority is set up after an election is announced, okay? And its life run for 6 months after the election, okay? The life of the constituted authority is for 6 months. And what I think, as you see, you have to understand basic administrative law here. The fact that their life is for 6 months does not in any way make a determination of its decision being void statute bar. And the reason for that, once something is pronounced to be a nullity, time does not run against that decision.
Thank you, sir.
That's basic administrative law. What nullity means is that it never had any life in the first instance. What you call in administrative law, it is void ab initio, meaning that it never started, never got out the block. So when the constituted authority made a decision by not referring the man's thing to the election court, that would have been a void decision, void ab initio. Therefore, time would not have run again. And all the time start to run when the Supreme Court, by way of judicial review, say your decision is wrong, so you must not refer the thing to the election court. That time start to run.
So basically, the argument of the judge that, time ran out on Mr. Buchanan, or it wasn't on time, cannot apply to this. Because he never even went to the next phase. He never started. That's what he's saying. That's what I understand. What do you guys understand from it? Yo, this is some wild stuff, man. I can't
so the nullification would get rid of the time.
That is correct. That is correct.
Yes.
Look,
wow.
I'm stunned by this.
I believe me.
Wow.
My professor, Professor Fiaggio, was a great administrative law professor at KV. You'd have been astonished to see something like this. This is Administrative Law 101, basic. Would have been astonished to hear something like this.
You know, and when I read the opinion, I saw where the judge, with all due respect, the judge kind of got confused.
Yes.
Writing was confused.
It is so wrong, Bridget. It is so wrong. Let me tell you something, man. This could not even get a E grade at Kevin, where I studied law.
Wow.
Could not even get an E grade.
Okay, so no,
because I had some great professors, and I consider myself to be a student in these things, and this could not even get an E grade at school, at university.
No, it is what it is. It's happened. Where do we go from here?
Well, look, the only thing is to appeal it, because this cannot stand. You cannot have something so palpably wrong to stand as the jurisprudence of this country. It is wrong. We have to, and you have to go to the Privy Council. Let go to the Privy Council. Let the white man determine it, because this can't make sense.
You know what, sir?
You heard it, guys. All the people that have been asking, all the people that have been wondering. If you didn't hear it before, this is how far the lawyer is willing to go. The Privy Council. I hope it doesn't take too long. I really hope it doesn't take too long. Wow. Vian Miller claps. Paul Buchanan case is not over. I'm going to read a comment for you guys. I'm going to read a comment for you. All right. Somebody read a long message, you know? See that? She said, this is what I really see happening. The 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, including the pale horse, is already loose. The pale horse rider is death, and hell follow close behind. Many who are passing now, he is picking them up, believe it or not. Many of us are not in the right standing with the Most High, and this is our final call to repentance, as there is no repentance in the grave. There is also 2 sets of unaliving that is ordained. 1/4 and 1/3 of mankind will unalive in 2 different settings. One take place right now as depopulation, and the other is the Great Tribulation. I believe the destroyer targeted the breadbasket of parish to speed up the famine, as he knows his time is short, and we are waking up as Christians. Nation know we expected to be doing the right thing, yet too many of us is still in error, going to the wrong way, and our Father been watching us all this time. It is time for the 2 sticks to become one, Judah and Ephraim, as it is written. Oh, this lesson? Oh, Laura, good morning, Bolo, on my way back to work. Watching you, it's my birthday. Hey, happy birthday! Vian said me a British, and I must say, them at the Privy Council will be laughing at the judicial process in Jamaica. I can just imagine. Decade. So it's like the case didn't begin to be tried. That's what I think. Basis for trial not established. Because the judge made an error, bro. The judge made an error. The judge made a terrible error. Judge made a terrible error. According to the law. Like I said, I cannot speak on intent, but what this comment said right here, serious times, end of days. End of days, my people. Oh, Jah, give me strength, oh, Jah. I need the strength, Father, to face the upcoming days. I don't know how long I'll be on this earth for, but for the rest of the time, all I want to do is whatever God wants me to do. Alright, that's everything. I have removed all ambitions that I have, to be honest with you, whatever God wants me to do, I just that one. All of my ambition, anything when I do that thing, say, yo, boy, I didn't want this, or I didn't want to reach this, or whatever. Right now, I just want God to guide my life. That's all. That's all. That is all, ladies and gentlemen. That is all. It has to go to appeal. It has to go to appeal. There's a process, but it has to go to appeal, which is what they're going to do. They're going to appeal it. They probably have started putting the papers together already. The way how this lawyer sound, it looked like them start put the papers together already. I haven't watched all of the program, but I'm now going to watch all that and here, so I'm going to be going into my bed and listening to the rest of the discussion between the lawyer and Mr. Rattigan. You see me? So you don't know Will Rattigan page. You can pull it up now and go watch it, Yeah, man, go to Reasoning with Rattigan on YouTube, man. Reason with Rattigan on YouTube. The title of the video is Wholeness, Re-Election, Conundrum, ? Special broadcast commentary, Buchanan versus Constituted Authority. Yeah, man, go and go watch it, man. Everybody go watch it. Go watch your side. Go watch it from the beginning. This is excellent content. Excellent video. See y'all later. Thank y'all for joining. Thank you for the gifts. Thank you for the likes. Alright? Yeah, man. Bless up. Where you say, no, Mr. You wild man, all paperwork in progress, man. That's what I believe. The way how he sound, he pissed. He is pissed. He is pissed. He's really pissed. You know what I'm saying? And he looks like he takes pride in the law and he takes pride in that stuff. So he's pissed. Alright, hey, appreciate y'all, man. The word is love. See you guys later, alright?